Compliant in California is the most strict.
Yeah.
All the other states seem to follow after a year or two or whatever.
Well, no, they don't. So that's a big misconception. So the other states.
So folks, welcome back to another great episode of the Get.Out.N.Drive.Podcast. We are still in SEMA. We are still in the Racing Junk booth. And our most recent interviewee is Chris Johnson from Bully Dog and SCT. Chris?
How you guys doing?
Good. I'm doing very well. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing here at SEMA and a little bit about the company.
So basically, we create tools to allow people to calibrate their own cars.
Okay.
And we're here at SEMA demonstrating our latest tools, latest software, the new 2021 F-150, which nobody's been able to tune. We now have software that we're releasing at the show to be able to do the F-150. So a very exciting release. Everybody's pretty pumped about that. And then we're also here really trying to advocate for the industry to stay alive. So support of the RPM Act. We want to be able to build and modify cars and continue doing what we love to do, which is to go fast.
Yeah, and as we move along in the industry and as hobbyists and everything that we want to do, we want to continue doing this for a long time.
For sure.
We want to get the next generation doing it, and so on and so on.
The next generation, man, they really love these electric cars.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got a lot of custom cars that I built that I own that I built.
Right.
And my kids are not very interested in anything until I brought home a Tesla. And they will sit for hours in this thing. So we have to figure out how to embrace them into what we're doing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's some kind of hybrid solution, electric, gas, I don't know.
We did see a lot of muscle cars over in the little EV area that were Tesla converted.
Yeah. LS swap Teslas. How about that?
Yeah, we saw that too.
That is the best thing ever. Can you believe it? Yeah.
And that seems to be the direction that we're going. So we want to kind of maintain that fine line between, okay, do we go fully electric and everything's kind of, EPA compliant, blah, 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 or do we want to keep with the ICE engines?
So now let's say I modify my electric car and I've got my gas miles equivalent, right? Now what happens if I burn that 50% faster or 90% faster? Now are they going to come after me? It's just a question. If we start hot rodding these things, I don't know.
I don't know where that lies. I mean, the power's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? California's dealing with that right now they want everyone to get to that electric vehicle stage, but they can't supply the power for them.
So the most interesting thing about California is they've done a really good job cleaning the industry up. Most of the cars versus the background don't even hardly show up, okay? But now you've got these wildfires that occurred, and they have wiped out 18 years of gains in like a summer?
Yeah.
So it doesn't even really matter.
Right.
They have all the container ships coming in. The top 15 container ships put out the equivalent of all the pollution of every automobile in the world every year. How about they get rid of one container ship and then we're good?
Exactly.
Right.
Like 150 million cars cleaned up.
Perfect.
Have a nice day. And then I can modify my hot rod. I can go racing. I'll be happy. I love it. Sorry to be a little passionate. I just believe in this.
But then the dollar store would be empty on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
I think we can get over it.
I think we can. So, John, when we sit here, we talk about it all the time. How can we take that next step? I bought this old, whatever, Chevy something or other, and it's just a stock. And I want to be able to, A, keep it compliant, but I also want to release some of what's left in the power. Can I go to SCT and get what I want and say, I'm going to plug this in, crank up the timing, crank up everything, and have some fun?
So if you've got a car that's pre-74 and you do an engine swap, technically it's a gray area. Depending upon the state you're in, I'm going to say most of the time that is going to be deemed okay, but it's going to be state by state.
Yeah.
So if it's a new vehicle, you're going to plug in one of our tuners and tune it up, turn it into a real hot rod and rock and roll.
There you go.
And for us, because we have the first and the only real consent decree that I know of in our industry, all of our tuners are they're actually legal. So they're deemed legal by the EPA. Now we had to follow it on with testing by ARB to prove it, but we had kind of a landmark consent decree in 2017, which gave this roadmap for the industry, which SEMA has been, I'm so thankful they were able to put this together in the SEMA certified program, which is a 49 state compliance program, which takes a really good deep dive at what you're doing, and then they're going to say yes or no with some testing, and you don't have to deal with the bureaucracy in the state of California. Big blessing.
That's super helpful, because it seems to be, well, compliant in California is the most strict.
Yeah.
All the other states seem to follow after a year or two or whatever.
Well, no, they don't. So that's a big misconception. So the other states,
I thought they did.
So all the green states, it only applies for new vehicle sales. Aftermarket is exempt. So the aftermarket still falls completely under the EPA. So it's truly like if you test with SEMA, you're a guy in your garage, you want to put together a package and sell it, make some money, contact SEMA. They will walk you through the process. In a few short months or maybe even weeks, you're going to be SEMA certified, and we're willing to stand up for the EPA for you to say, yes, it's clean. You're not polluting in the environment. Amazing.
Wow.
Just California is the only one that is not on that ticket. You have to have an EO, emissions exemption.
And you're probably the guy to ask. We had found out just the other day, eBay has stopped and is starting to pull sales of any
They did that
tuners.
Starting last December.
Well, and I'm saying it's just coming to light.
Yeah. No,
and I know what you're saying. I looked into it, and it came to last December.
Yeah.
But it's really starting to come to light.
Yeah,
and people that I know personally have gotten their stuff pulled down.
It's really tough for a guy, like let's say he's going to be in his garage and he wants to sell our illegal stuff and make some money. He can't do it because the eBay has carte blanche, took them all off. Same thing with Amazon. So if you're like a guy at home and all you're trying to do is make something cool to like have a little bit of extra money so you can go racing, you can't even sell our legal stuff on Amazon or eBay. It's really
because
tough.
they just wiped it out completely.
And it's only because I don't blame them. The EPA or whatever happened, somebody has investigated what they're doing or selling. There's some folks that are not very good players, and the knee-jerk reaction, from my understanding, was to wipe all the tuners.
That way they don't have to pick and choose. They just clean the slate.
No liability.
No liability.
Because like with us, with our consent decree, the biggest difficulty for a lot of our distributors is we got it, says our products are clean, and then they're still having to pay fines to the EPA for selling stuff that was already deemed to be clean.
Yeah, like I can remember not so long ago, you could go browse eBay for mufflers for your car. And they would have the disclaimer, not 50 state legal.
Right.
And now it seems as though stuff like that, is that going to go away as well?
Starting in 2015, that's when the EPA ratcheted up their enforcement of what they basically ignored for 40 years, which was off-road use only. And in the 650-page document for the new guidance, which came out in 2015, they inserted a sentence that said, no vehicles, basically I'm paraphrasing, but no vehicles can have their emissions equipment modified if they have a VIN. That's what started the RPM Act. I'm one of the people that made the first call to Kirstein back then to say, hey.
I see.
And then the RPM Act came about a year later, and the RPM Act basically says that you have the right to modify a vehicle to go racing. Now, in the end, there's going to be something, I believe, that's going to happen. I've heard some really good movement on the RPM Act. Is it going to be an enabling statute, which is what I'd like to have, which says you have the ability to go modify your car and do kind of like the Second Amendment.
Right.
This would be the Second Amendment for hot rodders.
For automobiles, right.
But is it going to be an enabling statute, or is it going to be a statute where you have to do something? And that is what's still up in the air.
Wow.
It's amazing what the world or the industry is coming to. I mean, I get it. I get that we need to clean the planet up. We need to make things clean. But when you go and you take hot rodders, they really are. Hot rodders and racers are a really small segment of the automotive industry.
There's 760 million cars in the world. We're maybe 10 million. So,
and yet they're trying to paint everything with a single
one
brush.
container ship would knock 150 million emissions of cars out.
Wow.
So
that is crazy. And nobody remembers that hot rodders are the first recyclers.
Yep, for sure. We reuse everything. You don't throw anything away.
Nope.
When you're custom building a car,
I don't throw anything away.
I might use this. The biggest
Right.
problem I have is then I lose where I placed it.
Right.
And I've usually bought or found another used one, 3 of them, before I. It is what it is.
That seems to be commonplace in the
Yeah.
industry. Every car guy who has ever put something aside says, I may use that someday,
Oh yeah.
probably doesn't know where it is right now.
And the moment you throw it out,
Then you need
it tomorrow.
It's the crazy. Or if you buy one, then you find the one that you couldn't find.
Yeah.
That happens to me all the time.
Shifting gears the tiniest bit in the industry, do you have any hot rods, any custom cars, anything?
Yeah, I have a lot of custom
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah.
From like 60s Mustangs to late model Vipers.
Okay.
Everything's American. I don't have anything. You know, if you're into imports, that's fine too. But I am
Right,
a
right.
knuckle dragging American hot rodder.
Right.
Built my own everything. So from engines to you name it. If you look up on YouTube, just put in Oregon Google, put an overpowered Mustang crash. In 2004, I had a naturally aspirated Mustang which ran 790s in a quarter mile that I had a wreck in.
Okay.
My lovely wife happened to be there. She witnessed the wreck, pregnant with my first child, begged me to no longer race. And instead, I have been racing this industry ever since.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's been a lot healthier for me,
Sure.
but not as much fun, of course.
Well, I think there is some fun into keeping things on track to keep the industry going forward. And we certainly appreciate that. Is there something you could share with us and with our listeners of what might be coming from SCT and Bully Dog?
So, support for the 2020 to 2022 Ford Super Duty trucks,
Mhm.
that is coming.
Okay.
It's done. We're in the implementation final testing phase. Maybe mid next year is when it'll be out. So that's going to be a big deal for.
Yeah, so all you
Hot
Super
rod
Duty guys out there who are looking just to push that little bit of extra towing capacity, power wise, and just pass everything but a gas station or a diesel station, away you go.
For sure. So the 2021 and 2022 F-150, we're releasing that here at the show. So that is actually available, should be available to order within the next couple of weeks. So that's another big deal if you have an F-150.
And now is the super fun part. How can our listeners find you?
You can find us at www.sctflash.com
Okay.
or my other business, which is JMSCHIP.com.
Very
All
nice.
kinds of things for the industry, and we're happy to be here.
That's great, Chris. Appreciate you taking some time to come talk with
Nice
us.
to meet
Thanks,
you guys.
Chris. Racing Junk is the #1 racing and performance marketplace where you can post your racing junk for free.
Parts, engines, race cars, trailers, project builds, muscle cars, chassis, tires, and so much more.
Buy, sell, trade, and browse on Racing Junk and turn your garage into cash in your pocket. Or find that next dream on the site, built by gearheads for gearheads.
And best of all, there's no transaction fees. 100% of what you make through your ad is yours to keep.
Cruise on over to our website, Get.Out.N.Drive.com, for all the info you never wanted to know about our podcast. Hit us up on our listener hotline, be the first to know what's happening, get industry news, and grab your Get Out and Drive merch. Connect with us on social media. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow us on Twitter at Get.Out.N.Drive.Pod.
What drives you?